Welcome to the YWCA Hartford Region Week Without Violence video series. Today we have with us Allison Karimi, MSW, who is an intimate partner violence consultant with the Department of Children and Families. She will share with us on the impact on children and families when it comes to intimate partner violence, domestic violence, and other gender-based violence. Allison, thank you for joining us today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So there's a lot of uncertainty that some people have and questions about how DCF plays a role in domestic violence interventions. What can you tell us about the role that DCF plays in domestic
Sure.
violence interventions?
Well, first and foremost, the Department of Children and Families, we take a family approach in working to meet the needs of all family members involved when it comes to domestic violence cases. So we're looking to partner with not just the victim and the non-offending parent, but also the offender to work towards change behavior there and to work towards cessation of violence and hoping that that person will commit to understanding and taking accountability for their actions, and then having some motivation to change that behavior. So the department takes, a full family approach. Now, in doing that, we are governed because child protection is forefront. And so we're not just looking at a child's physical safety, but we're also assessing that child's psychological safety as well as their emotional safety. So those are all the things that impact the decision making.
Thank you. And, especially when we talk about women and the focus of our conversations from a woman's perspective, women often lead with their maternal instincts when women have children. And many times we see that victims do not report abuse in fear that their children will be taken away from them. So what protocols and assessments are in place to determine a child's safety in a domestic violence situation?
Sure. So the department uses an assessment tool. It's called structured decision making, and that assesses the safety, because the department's always looking at safety and risk. But when a safety factor gets identified, then the department is working with that non-offending parent and any other supports they have to mitigate that safety factor. The department looks, obviously, the department does not look for children to be removed unless they are deemed not safe in a situation. So they use those tools, and then they work engaging, family members, engaging that non-offending parent on coming up with a plan to keep everyone safe. And if they can mitigate safety factors and come up with a plan, and that child's deemed as being, safe in that situation, then that's what's done. So first and foremost,
so it's very well possible, for example, let's run a scenario that a mom could be experiencing domestic violence. She could report this to DCF, and DCF can work with her and the children to be relocated or removed from the situation instead of just the children.
Yes, there are many situations. So first and foremost, it's partnering with that non-offending parent, and it's meeting them where they're at, okay, and understanding, the trauma around what they're experiencing, what their children are experiencing, and then developing a plan, exploring their resources. Do they have any family or friends that could be looked at as a safe location for them to go to? And then if there are no resources, then looking at, let's say, confidential domestic violence shelters as a safe place. Now, that's not every situation where somebody has to leave the home, but it's kind of meeting each other and having an understanding of what other supports are out there to help you through this and help your children through this. What have you already been doing? Because most victims, we know, have been safety planning, right? So what's been working, right? What in your safety planning you've been doing, what's been working, and what can we now help step in and assist you with? So it's really that engagement and working together. We understand that victims are very fearful of reporting the abuse, and the big piece of that is their worry about losing their children. And a lot of times threats are being made by the offender: don't say anything, or you could end up losing your kids, or you can end up,
yeah. I think the other thing that's important for us to take into consideration right now is that life as we have it, as we've known it, has not been the usual for the past 6 to 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
So, with many still sheltering in place and remaining
Mm-hmm.
socially distant or reducing social engagement, what signs of DV should community members look for?
Sure. So with the whole pandemic going on and the isolation and quarantining, it's been a huge concern. And I can tell you that we had started to establish because a lot of people were doing telehealth appointments, right? Whether they're meeting with their advocates or their counselors or kids doing schooling. And so I had pushed to develop a code word. Develop a code word with the non-offending parent, with the victim, so that if you're talking about sensitive stuff or they need to reach out to you and they're in trouble, they say this word, whether that person, the offending person's around or not. And it's that key word you establish where you know they need help or you
Hmm.
know they can't talk right now. But furthermore, like if you start experiencing where a non-offending parent, a victim, is not communicating with their friends, not communicating with their family members, maybe they were doing live chats, talking, via streaming like this, or, FaceTiming, and now they don't want to do that. They don't want their face to be seen, for fear maybe there's marks or bruises.
Right.
Um, just kind of cutting off that communication. So we've been kind of really in tune with that and really like making it a point to have that ongoing communication with individuals who've been impacted by IPV, but also looking at, kids who are doing schooling online. Are teachers paying attention to if they hear something in the background that just doesn't sound right? Or
Hmm.
now that the kids are coming to school, if they're withdrawn, if their behaviors are different, if they're just acting a certain way that you're not used to seeing them, checking in with them, asking them,
Right.
is everything okay? How are things going? We know this pandemic has put stressors on everybody. And so we know that it's also impacting just disagreements in the home, right?
Right.
Financial situations, other burdens, parents having to step up and now do schooling with their kids and having them there. So we know that the pandemic has put added stress on families, relationships. And so that ongoing communication is key right now in those check-ins.
Something important that you said, Allison, in our conversation was that some people may have already started safety planning. What are some
Mhm.
key elements of a safety plan for those that are going through right now and are listening?
Sure. So, key elements of safety planning are tapping into resources you may have, whether that's a friend you have here or that friend could be far away because we have technology, right? And so, being able to pick up the phone or send a message if you need somebody to help you out. So, tapping into your local resources. If you're involved in a church, a mosque, you have an imam, anybody who, could be that additional support that you can reach out to, utilizing those things. Whether it's a school teacher for kids. So building on those natural supports, those community-based supports, knowing that Safe Connect is available, right? Safe Connect is 24/7, and Safe Connect is run by the Connecticut Coalition Against Domestic Violence. They have people available to take calls around safety planning, getting set up with victim advocates, getting into confidential shelter. So utilizing all of that. More people are home now. More people are working from home. More people are home because they're quarantined. So looking at neighbors as potential
Mm.
resources and parts of your safety plan. Um, you know, People in the past, if they had someone across the way that they were friends with, there have been people who have safety planned. If you see my lights flashing, it means I need you to call 911 and call for help.
Right.
Or a person underneath the apartment, maybe underneath one of the kids' bedrooms. If you hear me tap on the floor, that means I need you to call for help. So it's
Hmm.
thinking outside the box of what do I have available, what supports do I have available to me now, and how can I use them? As well as,
Certainly.
yeah, I'm sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Hey, you had one more thing to say. Don't want to miss it. As long
Yeah, as
as.
well as the department, the Department of Children and Families, we have, intimate partner violence consultants, and we collaborate with our community supports with CCADV and the 18 local agencies around the state. We collaborate with a lot of service providers who can offer counseling, counseling to victims who are dealing with the traumas of their victimization and their children, right? So we have, those resources in the community that we can tap into and help victims and children with, as well as offenders of IPV and domestic violence. We have providers out in the community that are offering telework service, which is key right now. So it's knowing what's out there, and what's available, and you know, taking a step to reach out, and that's very hard, and we acknowledge that, but we all want to work together to help individuals through this.
Certainly. Allison, thank you for all that you've shared with us, and thank you for
Yeah,
the work that you do.
no problem. I really appreciate the time that you gave to me. So thank you, and good luck with everything else.
Thank you. For more information and resources, check out ywcahartford.org under our advocacy section, Week Without Violence, where you will find other resources and information within our community that can support individuals that are going through this experience. We thank you for taking the time to be a part of our Week Without Violence video series, and we look forward to growing with you in this community.